Good afternoon. Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Thursday, September the 20th. It's apparently too hot for anybody to make any news today because not much is going on. It's going to get cooler this weekend, I'm happy to say. So there's your weather report. Well, last night some news was made, I think. There was a televised debate for the 2nd District Congress seat that's up for election this year. French Hill, the incumbent Republican, declined to participate, so Clarke Tucker had the event to himself. He's the Democratic state representative from Little Rock. And he had a change in tone, I think, from his earlier campaign. He's been running a feel-good campaign emphasizing health care, not really going on the attack, although Hill has been attacking Tucker relentlessly for being a tool, supposedly, of Nancy Pelosi, who Tucker said he won't support. Well, that was changing last night. Clarke Tucker said a man can't well call himself a conservative when he's voted for a tax bill that's run up the deficit by $1.9 trillion. He said that French Hill has voted to deny pre-existing condition coverage to people with health problems. He hit him on a number of areas. It looks like the race might get a little bit more interesting. For his part, French Hill has a big event planned tomorrow. Mike Pence, the vice president, is coming to town for a rally. Interesting to note that French Hill chooses very carefully who he allows to hear him. He refuses to send notices of events to the Arkansas Times and has declined our request to be included in press coverage of that event. Not good enough for French Hill. Anyway, this Arkansas Supreme Court this morning heard oral arguments on a lawsuit challenging a 2017 law that imposed voter ID requirements to vote in this year's election. This was an attempt to get around a 2014 court decision that struck down an earlier law on voter ID. The argument in this case is that they've created a new requirement to vote. It's harder to vote in Arkansas than it is to register to vote, and that certainly wasn't the idea in the Constitution, the plaintiffs say. The state says this is just to prevent fraud, and it's not that big an imposition because you can cast a provisional ballot. Jeff Preby, the attorneys for the plaintiffs in this suit, notes that a provisional ballot isn't really voting unless the county election commission later determines that the vote may be counted. Supreme Court's yet to rule. This will decide whether or not the ID law will take effect in the November general election. It's generally viewed as a vote suppression tactic by the Republican Party. All this may become moot, though, with an election in November on a constitutional amendment that will clear it up that indeed voter ID could be the law of the land in Arkansas. Elsewhere, we learned that the governor released $60,000 from his emergency fund to install metal detectors in War Memorial Stadium so that it'll speed up the checking of people for guns as they go to football games there. This will be in time for the Arkansas game against Ole Miss at War Memorial Stadium. How many people attend that game is yet to be seen. There was an interesting and happy episode in Fordyce yesterday. John Brown, who was convicted of murder 26 years ago and been in prison ever since, was released thanks to the work of the Midwest Innocence Project. A federal judge had found in their appeal of his conviction, that all the other major witnesses recanted. DNA evidence was in his favor, and there had been prosecutorial misconduct beside. So he's a free man, although the state continues in the form of Leslie Rutledge's Attorney General office to try and get that federal judge's ruling overturned. They want him back in prison no matter how little evidence there is that he's guilty. That's law and order in America today. Let's see, what else have we got here today? Oh, I noticed a story in the Democrat Gazette this morning about Walmart setting out on along with a number of other green initiatives to encourage its suppliers to try and reduce emissions in the productions of their product. It's all about improving our climate, which is getting hotter and more unpredictable. I have one other suggestion for Walmart and the Walton family. Perhaps give some of your political money to politicians that believe in climate change. Most of you Republican people you back do not. There's an idea that might make a difference. And finally, the Brett Kavanaugh case rolls on. We don't know yet what will happen next week on who will testify and who won't about a woman's allegation that he sexually assaulted her in high school. There have been a lot of interesting developments, but some of them go to his credibility, and it's not about sexual assault. He's now been demonstrated to have not told the truth about what he knew about Democratic material stolen by a Republican operative when he was in the White House judging people. He's made disingenuous comments about torture policies when he was a White House aide. He's not very believable when he says he knew nothing about his mentor, Judge Alex Kaczynski's sexually misogynistic ways. He was close to Kaczynski. Everybody else seemed to know about it, and Brett Kavanaugh says he didn't. There's also some questions he needs to be asked about the recurring theme of heavy drinking during his high school, college, and law school days. Perhaps that could explain why he might not remember a bad episode in high school. In any event, more to come on that story, and the battle lines seem to have been drawn along the usual tribal lines. I'm Resisting. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.
Listen to our music, you will feel it. You feel it in here.
The music is surviving, probably more than ever.
We owe it to New Orleans, we owe it to the world to keep it going.
It's a feeling that you have that was deep in you, powerful.
What is Mardi Gras Indian to New Orleans? Mardi Gras Indians is New Orleans.
We created rock and roll. We created swing. You know what I'm saying?